Okay, so I just did my Captain Marvel review, and that was all non-spoilers. So now I want to talk about some of the things that are spoilerish. On the podcast, I have Cool 8, where we talk about top 8 news stories. I guess this is also Cool 8, because I'm talking about 8 things I want to talk about from Captain Marvel. Get out now if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay, this is also unscripted, so expect a lot of ums, as, and huh. I mean, maybe a bit more coherent than that. Right, first thing is the Skrulls and the Secret Invasion. I have a bell here for some reason. Okay, we find out one of the big twists in this movie is that Talos, played by Ben Mendelsohn, is not a bad guy. In fact, most of the stuff he's doing is so he can find the base where Lawson is because his family is on board, and that a lot of the Skrulls are really refugees from the Kree-Skrull War. Now, that was a good twist. A lot of people are pissed off about it. Why? Secret Invasion, one of Marvel's most famous stories of the last few years, was when it turned out that lots of people, including some Avengers and the original Captain Marvel, were Skrulls. And not who they said they were. Now, most people who go into this expected that we could be getting some setup for Secret Invasion down the line somewhere. Especially because this is the first film to feature Skrulls, who are so pivotal to the Marvel Comics universe. And people have said, no, you can't do it. Now that the Skrulls are good guys, it's over. Ah. Don't be so dramatic. Okay? First off, whilst Talos might be a good guy, there's no evidence to suggest that all Skrulls are good. In fact, if anything, this film challenged what you should be thinking about the morality of a certain species of aliens. So don't just assume that all the Skrulls are good, because you went into this assuming all Skrulls are bad, and it turns out that a couple of them are good. So, like history in general, there could be a bad Skrull somewhere that infiltrates or forms a rising of bad Skrulls who decide to invade Earth. It's still very possible. We could still see that, and I think Kevin Feige himself even said that there could be some bad Skrulls out there as well. They're not all good. The same as with any race of people, so settle down, nerds! Okay, next one. We're going to talk about Goose and Nick Fury's eye. Oh, I like having a bell here. Okay, Goose. Not a big surprise that Goose, or Chewie as he's known in the comics, is a massive alien flurkin, because that's kind of, what else would you expect? I mean, the whole movie is basically teasing that he's an alien. It's actually very similar to Kelly Sue DeConnick's run, Higher, Further, Faster, and this movie is based on that a lot, where Rocket tells everyone, it's a flurkin, it's a flurkin, and no one listens. And as it turns out, Goose is a flurkin. Who saw that coming? Pretty much anyone who read the comics, really. So, what is a flurkin? It's an alien species that has a pocket dimension inside it. So, in this film, it swallows the Cosmic Cube, the Tesseract, the Infinity Stone, whatever you want to call it. We have so many names for that thing now. And it disappears. It also eats loads of people. Thankfully, that didn't get coughed up on Fury's desk at the end of the movie. What does it mean? Are we going to see more Goose going forward? I expect so. The last we see of it is in the post-credits scene, coughing up the Cosmic Cube. We don't know what year that is. Goose is going to pop up somewhere. It's something will break a character in this movie, so it's just a question of where we will see Goose again. Also, most interestingly, is that Goose took Fury's eye. In Winter Soldier, we're led to believe that he lost that eye from somebody he trusted, and I guess he trusted a cat. And yeah, a lot of people are pissed off about this. And yeah, I think my main issue is that we've had a decade to think of, how could Fury have lost his eye? And it was never going to live up to expectations. It's not a particularly badass way, but it is in line with Nick Fury to just lie about how he lost his eye. So, I'm not too worried. And at the end of the day, you can say, oh, he lost his eye to a cat, but it's a badass cat to lose your eye to. It's a freaking alien monster. Next, we're going to talk about Rambeau or Photon. Okay, the little girl in the film, Lashana Lynch's daughter. You might say, I bet she becomes someone. And you'd be right. Even though she's called Lieutenant Trouble by Captain America a couple times, that's not who she normally becomes. In fact, a lot of comics, she becomes Photon. Now, why is that important? Her mother's call sign on the fighter jet, the same way that Captain Marvel's was Avenger, hers is Photon. So she presumably takes the name of her mother's call sign as a fighter pilot and becomes Photon. Will we see that play out? Who knows? Again, what is interesting about this film is that it takes place so far behind the mainstream timeline that maybe at some point when Captain Marvel comes back to Earth, we'll have a little Photon all grown up. Certainly she inspired her enough in this movie, so that's certainly something that could happen. But let's talk about how this film ties into Infinity War. I Not that much. A lot of people are a bit disappointed about that. They're saying, we wanted this movie to tie into Infinity War, and it does in the first post-credit scene. In that scene, we see the pager from the Infinity War credit scene that is now in Avengers HQ, and the Avengers have this. They somehow got it. We don't entirely know how. It was dropped on the floor by Fury somewhere. They've picked it up, and they have it connected to a battery. They don't know what it's for. They don't know anything about it, but that it just turns off. And while there's investigating what it could be doing or who it's contacting, Captain Marvel shows up behind him and says, "Where's Fury?" And then it ends. Got a massive reaction in the theatre I was in. So, what does that mean? People are a bit disappointed because we didn't get the answer to certain questions. They wanted to know, where has Captain Marvel been? How is she getting to Earth? Yada, yada, yada. Well, not how is she getting to Earth, that's pretty obvious. People are asking a lot of questions. They're saying, where has Captain Marvel been? Why is she only appearing now? Why did Fury never use the pager? All these. Okay, so let's try to address a few of them. Where has Captain Marvel been? There is some footage that was screened to Disney executives where I think it basically gave the answer you expect, which is the universe is massive. Not every planet has the Avengers to defend them. So she's been acting as kind of the Avengers of an Avenger on an intergalactic level. She's been going to planets that need it. And look, there's the whole Kree-Skrull war that was happening back in the 90s. She had a lot of work to do, so I don't think it's too shocking. How did she get to Earth? And when we say how do we get to Earth, we really mean what has happened in the intervening years. We really don't know. That's something that we might talk about in a sec. What could be happening? Whether we will see this take place? Yada, yada, yada. Why did Fury not use his beeper? We don't know for sure he didn't. There is a possibility that he tried to contact her other times and she was uncontactable. We don't really know. Again, maybe Fury wanted to test his Avengers. Maybe it just didn't seem like something they couldn't handle. I don't know. That's the truth. There's no answer here, but I'm sure we will get some information down the road. I think it's likely that maybe she just didn't need to be contacted or was uncontactable. Who knows? Fury doesn't seem like the sort of person that would bother her for just no reason. So then we come to the Tesseract, or the Cosmic Cube, or the Space Stone. I think it is. Now, a lot of people have said, they made a plot hole. I forgot to tip my bell. They didn't really. So here's what we know about the Cosmic Cube. Years and years ago, we won't go back to the prehistory. There's loads of stories there about Odin having it and yada, yada, yada. Keep saying yada, yada, yada. I'm watching too much Seinfeld lately. It was put in the hands of the Red Skull. Red Skull lost it essentially. He got teleported off Earth and the thing sank into the ocean, where Howard Stark found it. Howard Stark eventually gave it into S.H.I.E.L.D. Project Pegasus is a division of S.H.I.E.L.D. and NASA, which is what Miranda Lawson is working on. So, not really. It's not really a plot hole. It's just that we don't have that history accounted for. Presumably they were studying it for a while. Maybe Lawson knew they had that stone and she needed to make that engine because it is a space stone, so presumably it can be used for transport. She wanted to make a light speed engine to get the Skrulls to somewhere safe. It's not a plot hole. It's just we didn't really know where it is. We still don't know a lot of that history because there is such a big gap between World War II and the first Thor movie where it basically re-emerges. But it was nice to see it. I didn't actually think it was the Space Stone at first, or the Cosmic Cube first. I wonder if we get a bit more and see how that plays out. But I think it would be, if we see it, it'll probably be in something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something along those lines. Let's talk about Stan Lee cameo. Okay, in this film, Stan Lee cameos as Stan Lee. And a few of his other cameos, maybe he could have been playing Stan Lee. I think the first two Iron Man films he was credited as Stan Lee, and I think maybe in Thor they just credited him as Stan the Man. But this one, no bones about it, he's playing Stan Lee, because we see him reading the script for Mallrats, Kevin Smith's film, in which Stan Lee has a cameo as himself. He kind of inspires Brody Bruce, and is a very sweet cameo in Mallrats, and it's quite nice to see Stan Lee as himself. Like, of course, Captain Marvel gives him as well. Like, this is the first MCU cameo since his death, and it was incredibly well done. And obviously, we have the opening intro as well, where we have all the different Stan Lee cameos, which was cool to see as well. You know, it's nice that they're tipping their hat so much, because I imagine there's going to have to be less Stan Lee in subsequent films because of his death. I know a few of these were filmed after the fact, and he will, of course, cameo in Endgame, and probably a few other ones, but yeah, I don't know, it's a bit sad. But it is a very nice moment to see Stan Lee homaged in that way. Possibly universe breaking. This is Stan Lee definitively playing himself. He created a lot of the characters in this universe, and now he's in this universe, so he could possibly be a god that inhabits his own universe. I don't think about it too much. It's only a cameo and a nod to the man himself, so don't overthink it. Then we have the first Avenger. That's right, you thought it was Captain America, and to a certain degree it is, but the person who inspired the Avengers initiative was Captain Marvel, as we see at the end of this film. So, the name, of course, comes from her call sign. We see her that on her fighter jet. It was Carol Avenger Danvers. So that is where Fury gets the name, and essentially he's inspired to make a team because of Captain Marvel, because he knows there's others out there. So again, he's quite a bit of time away from forming that team yet, but it was nice to see that in a prequel is at least acknowledged, and it makes sense because a lot of the stuff that S.H.I.E.L.D. do for the Avengers is reactionary. So, see Captain Marvel, okay, let's make the Avengers team. They only start making weapons using the Tesseract after Thor invades. It's as aspects like that, and I think it makes sense. It would be really stupid if, when you think about it, if Captain Marvel came from this really superpower person, and then she just left, and it was like, okay, now what? It makes sense that they would try to form a team to combat something like that if he needed to, and try to find more people out there, which there no doubt is. And let's talk about the sequel. Okay. Some people expected a time jump in this. There isn't. She flies off and it's still the 1995, I think. What is the sequel to this going to look like? We don't know yet. There is certainly been teases. Kevin Feige has said that there is elements to fill in there to catch up to the main continuity, but we of course have her appearing in Endgame, which is in the modern time, so we don't really know what happens in between it. Will it follow the story of the first Captain Marvel? Could it have a split narrative between two times? What is interesting is that all of Star Force is still alive, to my knowledge. Yon-Rogg certainly is. We have Korath alive as well. We could fill in his time between Guardians of the Galaxy. Ronan the Accuser. Perhaps we could see what made him become such a Kree radical. There's a lot of stuff that can be filled in here, and there's a lot of things we don't know yet. Maybe a sequel could set up Secret Avenger. We could also see Photon come into this, or something they kept teasing is Miss Marvel. But Captain Marvel isn't really known to the wider world, so presumably to do that, they'd have to catch up to the mainstream time. So it would have to take place after Endgame. A lot of different questions about a sequel to this, but Marvel haven't set foot wrong so far, so we'll see how that plays out. Of course, this movie seems to be making major money, so I'm sure we will get a sequel at some point. What did you think of the movie? What is there something I didn't notice? I'm sure there's plenty of stuff I haven't noticed. Let me know what you think, and I will be talking more about this movie, including spoilers and non-spoilers, in more detail on my podcast, Pop Cult Pod, which you can find on all podcasting platforms, or subscribe here on YouTube. I put up a video version a little bit later on normally. Alright, aside from that, if you like this, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, take care. Bell!